Pleased to be accompanied now by Yahoo Sports NFL analyst Nate Tice, who's also the co-host of the Football 301 show. And Nate's been busy. He's, putting together some preseason rankings for offense, quarterbacks, etc. First of all, thanks for the time, Nate. Second, your top 10 offenses have some familiar teams there, but you've got the Bills at the tippy top of the mountain here. Tell us what convinces you that they should be considered top dog this year.
I'm not sure if you guys are aware, but they have this guy named Josh Allen at quarterback. So it's a very easy bet to make of them having one of the top offenses.
But he counts in the ranking system.
It's really just the continuity I really like with the Bills offense and the layers they've added under Joe Brady the last couple, 2.5 years, year and a half, 2 years, however you want to call it. But I just really like where the run game evolved to last year. I liked what they were doing with their tight ends, with the jumbo stuff, I should say, maybe more the offensive linemen, the continuity they have with their offensive line. And I really like the addition of Joshua Palmer. I think Josh Palmer is a good dirty work guy. He's a good auxiliary target. I call him useful. Is he a superstar? No, but I do think he does things well in certain roles. And I think some of his dirty work stuff, being able to block and be physical, what I call a power slot, essentially be a de facto tight end, even though you're a receiver. I think he can really do some cool stuff with Dalton Kincaid, where they have kind of an inverse game where Kincaid is split out and Palmer is split in as kind of like he's the tight end and he's the de facto receiver. So I think I really like that addition. It was kind of what Mac Hollins was, that role that he was in this Bills offense, just doing a little bit of everything, but just has a little bit more juice to him. So just little additions like that. I feel like the James Cook stuff will sort itself out. I'm hoping Spencer Brown comes back healthy because, I mentioned the continuity with this offensive line. This offensive line has been way healthy the last couple seasons. So I just, hopefully I'm not jinxing anything saying that maybe Buffalo's doing something with their O-line health. But even if they have a blemish there, I just really think this offense is set up to do a lot of things well.
Today, Kyren Williams, the Los Angeles Rams running back, signed an extension. James Cook is looking for one here in Buffalo. And you mentioned the Bills' running game. Like you, we were a little taken aback. When Joe Brady took over, they went from a 60-40 pass run to like a 50-50 pass run ratio, and it's been right there ever since. Now, some of that is being up on teams late in the fourth quarter. Mitch Trubisky's handing the ball off a little bit of that. So that's a little bit of the percentage. But you look at Baltimore's offense with Derrick Henry, you look at other offenses around the league, the running game is kind of bouncing back. Is that a trend you think will continue?
Yeah, and it's so much fun how the NFL is just the cycles of the NFL and what they call the meta, what changes year to year, but what also is what's old is new again. Like this flavor of football is the passing games are, of course, more modern, but kind of what is happening with defenses right now and the offensive answers because of that, that's become really interesting. It reminds me a lot of like the aughts, the 2005-ish era of the NFL, where we saw a lot of cover two. Modern defenses disguise it a lot better and they do a lot more inverse things. But why that affects the offense is offenses are bigger now. Offensive linemen are getting bigger as they enter the league, but defenses are getting smaller. Front seven defenders have dropped, I think, on average about 8 or 9 pounds over the last decade. And because of that, offenses are just going, well, all right, light bodies, light boxes, let's just road grade it. Let's just run right at it and steal 5 yards. A 5-yard gain on first down is golden in the NFL. It's what you want. It's a successful play. So I think that's what, rather than just beating their heads against the wall, that it's really more respecting what defenses are and just taking what they're giving you. And hopefully you just turn, okay, yeah, we got a 5-yard gain. Maybe we can find a way to get 12. Maybe we can find a way to get 15. The Bills' answer to that was running a lot of under center stuff and running a lot of zone. Getting that jumbo tight end onto the field, run a lot of zone, and the running backs were really well coached, not just Cook, but all the backups as well, Ray Davis as well, and just finding those back cuts, the back zones. And they get these looks because of the respect Josh Allen gets. Defense is just terrified, even if no one on the receiving core runs a 4-2, they're still kind of scared of Josh Allen's arm and the explosive plays that he can generate like that. So this is an answer of defenses becoming almost safer and like, hey, we'll be safeties and we'll just catch everything. So the offenses are finding new ways to attack. Now, how you do that is you have to find ways to generate explosive plays. You need a quarterback that has some cojones to him, but also you want to just punch him in the nose a little bit with running the game and stealing those 5-6 yards. If they're just going to give it to you, that's winning football, and that's kind of the formula offenses are finding right now.
All right, so let's spin that into your top 10 quarterback rankings, and I think it's not. I don't think your rankings list is outlandish at all. I think a lot of people would tend to agree with it. So you had Mahomes at the top with Josh right behind him. Am I safe in assuming that that's largely due to, the success he's had as the premier guy getting his team to the Super Bowl out of the AFC?
Yeah, and I mean, it's a respect of his resume. I think it's more Josh and Lamar have closed the gap. I consider Mahomes so much on his own tier, and the thing with Mahomes is what I see him do in 2 minutes, no matter who is around him, when the ball actually is in his hands. That last year, that Chiefs offense had to do a lot to insulate, so just the whole bottom didn't fall out. So they had to become this jab-heavy nickel and dime offense. Not even nickel and dime, nickel and penny offense. And that was more just like a blip of what they had to go through because they had known to block at left tackle especially, and they also just had no speed at receiver. So they were just had to be a hyper-efficient thing. So I have him, it's just a respect thing because I still thought he played good last year. Yeah, he was ranked 8th, 10th, and kind of a lot of the metrics I look at. But still, it's just what he had to deal with. Only the top guys can deal with that. But I really don't. It's no slight to Josh Allen. I've been a Josh Allen I've been in his corner ever since he got drafted. I remember that Vikings game when they're 17.5-point underdogs. I remember that. I'm leaping over guys, but it's just more of a respect thing to what Mahomes has put together. And I think those three guys are just, Lamar Jackson included, Hall of Fame caliber guys and just unbelievable. Pick them out of a hat. I think all three could be the top guy, and I wouldn't really squint at you at all.
Right. Well, there's always this group it's Pat, Josh, Lamar, Joe Burrow's usually up there. Matt Stafford, while he's long in the tooth, still a quality guy when he's healthy. There's a new generation. There's the Bo Nixes of the world. There's the Drake Mays of the world, Jaden Daniels of the world. Who is the next guy that, people are like, well, I think he should be up there with Mahomes and Jai. Who's that guy going to be, the guy that's going to jump into that tier with Josh, Lamar, Pat, and Joe?
You probably don't want to hear this because he's in your division, but Drake May. I think Drake May is special. I'm fine saying it, entering his second year. I was super high on him going into the draft. I didn't think he had to sit. I think he's got all the tools. And there was comparisons to Justin Herbert and Josh Allen, all that. He's smaller than Josh Allen. A lot of quarterbacks are. But that play style, going back to the defensive question or just talking about what offenses and defenses are doing right now, to be a successful quarterback right now, you got to generate explosive plays. So you need a guy that's not only just has a hose for an arm, but is willing to use it. And that's what Drake May is. He's a walking, talking, explosive play. And so that's where I think his upside, his ceiling is being one of the dudes that we just talked about. I really respect Jaden Daniel. I think he's going to be a very good one as well. And same with Caleb Williams. I'm actually not out on Caleb Williams at all. I think Caleb Williams' style is going to be different than people anticipated. I think everyone sees the freewheeling highlights and lowlights with sacks, but I really do think he's going to be more of a hyper-efficient quarterback. But I think May will end up being the one from that group. I'm very excited to see how he progresses this year. I know I'm on a Bills show saying that, but it's cool to see, much like Josh did, and then expanding his kind of mental capacity. Watching Josh Allen pre-snap, it's something I just keep trying to hammer home, that Josh Allen's just not a freak athlete. He's so good mentally as well, is that I think Drake May has a little bit more advancement to him, even at a young age with not a lot of starts. He was a redshirt sophomore coming out. Now it's his second year. I do think he has more mental advancement to him that I'm excited to see where his growth is this year.
Yeah, we're kind of, as bullish as a division rival could be. Steve and I both think that Patriots are probably the second place team in this division behind Buffalo this year, just with the addition of Vrabel, another year for Drake May in the system. Well, new system, albeit under Josh McDaniels, but we think they could be like a 500 team. Their schedule's super easy also. Steve touched on James Cook. We typically see that when another player at the same position with similar production gets a contract extension, that it usually leads to movement for another player in a similar position. And Kyren Williams is a fifth-round pick, same draft class as James Cook, very comparable production, although he played in a lot more snaps on the field last year than Cook did, 83 to 48.
Yeah.
But still, in all, you see this 3-year contract extension for Kyren Williams. How optimistic do you think Bills fans should be that these parameters will help smooth out maybe some of the rough patches in the negotiations between the Bills camp and the Cook camp?
Yeah, I feel like it's going to get done, and maybe Cook's just going. Again, I don't know anything. This is just outside, painting my narrative picture. Is that I'm just going to save some body blows while we work this deal out until my pen is signing this, and then once we're signed, then I can get to camp. I'm not too worried about it happening. Running backs is just an interesting market always, but I do think the value of them is kicking up. That's why guys like Kyren Williams are getting paid, because I do think that is the tier of player that these two guys are. It's so hard because Kyren Williams and that Rams offense, they want the running back to take the majority of snaps. I'm glad you brought up the snap count numbers because actually I was going to look them up as well. Being in the 80%, that's what they wanted with Todd Gurley when he was in that offense under Sean McVay. So those guys have a high usage, which, can get scary as running backs get old. It's a lot of touches that they ask him to take, a lot of blows. James Cook is super explosive. He's way more explosive than Kyren. Kyren is more of a Ichiro type running back. Singles, doubles, really good in pass protection. James Cook is, again, like I used with Drake May, a walking, talking, explosive play who has become such a good inside the tackles runner. I always had worries about that, and he has just become so much better with that. But you just brought up the snap count. I always think James Cook is always going to need a 1B, a 2 with him to take some of the blows just because of his body size. Kyren Williams is small too, but the Rams are saying, okay, that's what we're going with. So I think that this helps, always kind of go what the gauge or what the number is, because I don't think he gets that upper echelon money. And I think the Bills don't want to do that as well. But I think this is more tolerable for everybody, involved. He gets paid in his prime. And also just kind of like, again, this is the tier of money they should take. But I think it's going to solve itself pretty soon.
One of the things about the NFL is, the parity, and you always have, it seems, over the last couple of decades, almost 2 decades, there's been one team in the league that has gone from worst in their division to first or getting in the playoffs. You've got New England, Cleveland, Tennessee, and Las Vegas in the AFC. You've got the Giants, Chicago, New Orleans, and San Francisco in the NFC. And the last name I read every time is San Francisco, and I was shocked to see them last in that division. Certainly the health of their team deprived them, and McCaffrey not being able to play for as many games as he was out of certainly crippled their abilities. But a lot of people may believe that San Francisco is not going to be the team that goes from worst to first. They may take a step back because of the top-heavy nature of their roster. What are your thoughts on any team in there that may go from worst to first? Do you think we'll see that this year, or will this be a year there where that gets a pass?
The last 2 teams you mentioned there would be the ones, if I were a betting man, which I am, would be the ones I'd bet on. I think the NFC North, just because really I think those divisions have a lot of good units and everyone just kind of beats up on each other. I think the winner of those divisions, NFC North, NFC West, I'm talking about, is going to go 10-7. I don't see the Lions, Vikings running away with it this year because I think the improvement. I think the Packers are really good, and I think they face harder schedules this year as well, outside of their own division. So I think the 2 teams, why I'm saying that, are the Bears and 49ers. I have similar concerns with you, where I think the 49ers are more of a playoff team this year, potentially, or that's what they're aiming for, the upside of them. I think their win total right now in Vegas is 10.5. So I think that's kind of fair about where I gauge them to. I see them as a 9-8 team, maybe 10-7, because of some of the blemishes that they have. The offensive line is very dependent on Kyle Shanahan really dialing some stuff up. And I do think that the defense, they've just had weird injuries. Some guys have left as well. Drake Greenlaw, Hufanga, Malik Mustafa is a guy they drafted. He's hurt. But then they drafted some guys I really like. Mykel Williams in the first round. I really like him as a complement to Nick Bosa. And I think he's going to be a plus run defender as soon as he steps onto the field. I'm really excited to watch Mykel Williams. But again, it's I felt like they needed one more offseason to kind of reinforce everybody. So I am optimistic about where they're at, because I think no matter what, they have a top 10 offense because Kyle Shanahan, and I think Brock Purdy has ascended. I don't think he's a top 10 guy, but I do think Purdy is legitimate. Okay, he's top half of the league. You can win with this guy. Obviously, he made it to the Super Bowl, so you can win with him a decent amount. I think the receiver room is interesting there because I think they're trying to figure out who's going to actually just be healthy. I also think that they're trying to shift to maybe more 2 tight end looks. They signed this guy, Luke Farrell, from the Jags. I actually really like that as a sneaky signing. So I think they were trying to kind of insulate themselves from any drop off there. But yeah, they have some question marks, and that division is a bloodbath. I could see them ending up as the victor, but I do think they need one more offseason because they need to reinforce the line. So this is a long-winded way to get to the Bears. I think the Bears have more of a fighting chance. I think that their defense might be a top 10 defense this year, and I think the offense is going to ascend as the season goes along. They play in a really tough division, but again, they might beat up on each other. So they are my one pick, but it's not like one I'm like, yeah, take it to the bank, let's go. But those are the 2 teams I look at. But again, I think of them both as more of a potential wild card team than like outright winning the division.
Nate, thanks very much for the time. We
Appreciate
appreciate it. We'll be up on the season in a blink of an eye. So thanks for giving us some time. We appreciate it.
Thanks for having me, guys.